some oil. I have my pan back here heating up and some more measuring tools. So, okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're gonna start with step number 1, which is to stir together the dry ingredients. So we're going to stir together flour, sugar, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. We're gonna put them in this big mixing bowl right here. So first thing I need to do is measure the flour. This is my container of flour. I can tell because it's clearly marked, which is helpful when you have a lot of white powders that you are going to be using in this recipe. All right, so I'm going to scoop it into the measuring cup. This is a 1 cup measuring cup. I'm going to level off the top. So that says 1 cup on it. And I'm going to go ahead and dump that into our mixing bowl. Okay, then I'm going to close the flour up, and then I'm going to move on to measuring sugar. This one I know is sugar. It's a white powder too, but I wrote sugar on it, and it looks crystal. Like you can see the little speckles of it that are glistening. So that is a property of matter. It is white and glistens, and if I taste it, it's sweet. All right, so I need 1 tablespoon of sugar. So I am going to use my tablespoon, which is the biggest of the measuring spoons. It says 1 tablespoon on it. So I'm going to scoop a big mound of it, and then I'm going to use my scoop to level it off. So that is a level tablespoon. And I put it in with the flour. Next on our list is baking powder, 1 teaspoon. This is another white powder, but it is labeled, it says baking powder, and it smells different. It's a white powder. Looks kind of like flour. All right, so we're going to put in 1 teaspoon, which is the measuring spoon that says 1 TSP. 1 TSP. Okay, so I'm going to scoop it in the container and level it off with the edge. And I'm going to go ahead and put that into our bowl. And then we're going to add some baking soda. Baking soda. And the baking soda is a base, and it is going to mix with the acid that's in the buttermilk to create a chemical reaction. And you'll see evidence of that with bubbles in our pancakes, and the pancakes are going to turn a different color too, which are 2 signs of a chemical reaction. So baking soda, we're going to put in, I think I said 1/4 teaspoon. Okay, so this one is 1/4 teaspoon. You can see that my measuring spoon got dented, probably fell into the garbage disposal and got ground up a little bit. But we know that if we change the shape of something, it's still metal, and it still will hold the same amount. It's 1/4 teaspoon, still going to hold 1/4 teaspoon, so it still works, even if its shape has changed. That is a physical change. All right, so I have 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, which is different than baking powder. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. And then I think I have one more thing I need to put in that's also a white powder. And this is where you need to make sure you know your properties of matter, because if you have a container like I do, this one is a white powder and I have no label on it. So I have to think about the properties of matter. It is white, and it does have a little shimmer to it, and it's fluffy, and it looks a lot like sugar. But think to yourself, how could we tell if this is sugar or salt? We could use our senses. So I'm going to get a little scoop, which is 1/4 teaspoon, which is how much is in the recipe. And then I'm going to do a quick little test. I'm going to pour a little teeny bit into my hand, And then I'm going to taste it to make sure that this is really salt, because if we put sugar in, it's not going to have the same effect. So I put a teeny tiny amount, and it definitely is salt, sorry. It's definitely salt, because it's salty, like French fries. It is not sweet. So I got that right. That is salt. So I'm going to pour that in. So now we have all the dry ingredients together. And then I'm going to take my whisk. You could do this with a spoon. I just happen to have a whisk right here. So I'm going to stir up the dry ingredients and mix them together. This is step 1. Okay, now I'm going to take the dry ingredients and I'm going to set them off to the side because we're ready for the wet ingredients. So I've got a little bit smaller of a bowl. I need to grab a fork. Oh, no, I've got one right here. Okay. So for this step, it says, use a fork to combine the egg, buttermilk, and oil. So I need to look and see how many eggs we need. I think just 1. Yep. So I'm going to take my package of eggs and open it up. And I'm going to take out 1 egg. And I am going to crack the egg into the bowl. So it is an egg still, it's just in a different shape. So here is our egg. And then I'm going to add the other wet ingredients. So we will need 1 cup of milk and 2 tablespoons of cooking oil. So this is the cooking oil I'm going to use. Some Crisco. When they do real cooking shows, they never show the label for some reason. I guess they don't want to give advertising. But that's what I use. All right, so we're going to use 1 tablespoon. It's the one that says 1 TBS, and it's always in capital letters. So I have to pour really slowly. 1, and I already forgot if it's 1 or 2 I need. 2 tablespoons. Okay, so that was right. All right, and now we need 1 cup of buttermilk. So this is buttermilk. Remember, this is the ingredient that is the acid that's going to make those bubbles form when you add it to the baking soda. Okay, so buttermilk, I need 1 cup. So I'm not going to pour it directly in that mixture because that won't be an accurate measurement. I'm going to use a different measuring cup to measure the buttermilk. So this is a 1 cup measuring cup, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually set this down so it measures more accurately. Okay, so I'm pouring in the buttermilk to 1 cup. Now when I make my pancakes, I actually like them to be a little thinner. I don't like them really thick, so I'm going to add a little extra buttermilk to mine. You can choose to do that if you make your own pancakes or not. It's up to you. But that's the way I like to make my pancakes. All right, so now we have all of our ingredients in that are wet in this 1 bowl. So we're going to use our fork, which it says for step 2, to combine the egg, the buttermilk, and the oil. So this is step 2. Okay, so you can still see bits of egg in there. You can see the white buttermilk. You can see the ingredients are in there. They're just in smaller pieces and mixed together. So think to yourself, is that a physical change or a chemical change? I bet you know. We have not made anything new. We just mixed it and made it smaller pieces. Okay, next is step 3. It says to add the egg mixture, which is our wet ingredients, all at once to the flour mixture. And in mine, it says to make a little well or a little dent in the middle of the wet ingredients and add it together all at once to the flour mixture and stir. All right, so That is all the wet ingredients. I'm gonna stack up my dirty things. Okay, and then I'm going to stir them together. All right, now this is where, if you look carefully, you might see the acid and the base turning into a new substance, because you may see some bubbles. We might have to wait until it's cooked, but you might see some now. Let's look and see. I see some little bubbles forming when we added the milk mixture, from the wet mixture to the dry mixture, but not much. I see a few bubbles that are forming. Okay, so I'm gonna set my dirty dishes in the sink, and I will be right back, and we will put those pancakes on the grill. Oh, there's one more step I forgot. I usually don't do this step that's in these instructions. I do it when I'm actually cooking my pancakes, so that's why I forgot. But we're gonna add in some blueberries. So you can add the blueberries as the pancakes are on the griddle, or you can wait and or you can do it ahead of time and put them into the bowl with your other ingredients. And I'm going to turn up the heat. Well, I guess turn it on. We might have to move to the kitchen to heat up our pancakes. It's not doing anything right now. Okay, so this is our mixture, and I'm going to add some blueberries. That was the step I forgot. So I've got some blueberries. We're gonna make some blueberry pancakes, add those in, and we're gonna stir it up. Okay, so now the blueberries are mixed in to our batter. Okay, so that was step 4. Then it says to melt about 1/4 cup of butter in a hot skillet or pan. The only problem right now is my skillet is not hot, so I'm gonna have to move into the kitchen. So come with me while we make the pancakes in the kitchen. So let me grab a spatula and my mix, and we will move to the kitchen. I put a bunch of pans out because I was trying to get to